A loud scandal in Russia. The well-known oligarch Deripaska has been accused of pedophilia. The armed forces of Ukraine are epically destroying the Russians. Russian soldiers are demoralized and refuse to go on assaults. Putin has stated that he is ready for a personal meeting with Zelenskyy. Ukrainian drones, after flying 1,000 kilometers, attacked a Russian facility where nuclear missiles are stored. In Slovakia, local officials have been detained on charges of embezzling funds intended for aid to Ukraine. Hello, my name is Yulia Kokan, and right now, here are the main stories. But first, like this video if you support Ukraine, and subscribe to our channel so we don't lose touch with you on YouTube. And now let's start with the news from the front. The Russians have intensified their assault operations in the Sumy region. Fighting continues for Yunakivka. The Russians are trying to attack the approaches. The armed forces of Ukraine are holding the defense. However, the situation is not easy. Meanwhile, Ukrainian aviation continues to operate in all directions. The MiG-29 carried out a series of powerful strikes, destroying enemy depots and personnel positions in the northern and southern directions. The enemy is suffering very heavy losses. Footage is going viral online showing the occupiers training to cross the Dnipro and capture Kherson for a second time, while at the same time sinking each other with boats. Thank you for watching. And here is some more interesting footage. The K2 unit destroyed the Russian BM-21 Grad loaded with chemical weapons. It explodes immediately after being hit by an FPV drone. And right now, real shock content. Everything is in the Russian style. Footage has surfaced online showing a Russian soldier being chained up in a doghouse for refusing to storm a tree line and die for Putin. They don't forget to feed him, though he complains about having no appetite. See for yourself.
Come on, eat. Eat, you beast.
Come on, eat, eat. You can do it. You take it out, just like this. That's right, you'll eat, won't you? Go ahead, give it a try.
In the past day, our armed forces of Ukraine have eliminated about 1,000 Russians, as well as 4 tanks, 8 armored fighting vehicles, 63 artillery systems, and much more. Please like this video and write words of support for the Ukrainian defenders. We know for sure that they are watching us. The dictator of Russia, Vladimir Putin, once again appeared in front of the TV cameras and decided to talk about peace.
We need to find a solution that would not only put an end to today's conflict, but also create the necessary and appropriate conditions to prevent similar situations from arising again for a long historical period.
But if you suddenly thought that he actually started using his head and speaking sensibly, forget it. This person is incapable of thinking rationally. As always, he claimed that it was Ukraine that started the war.
It started the war itself on its own territory. After the coup that took place in Kyiv, using the armed forces, including heavy equipment and aviation, against the civilian population of the southeast. At that time, the southeast of Ukraine, against Donbas, against Luhansk and Donetsk. They struck directly at residential neighborhoods.
For 8 years, they bombed Donbas and so on. The same old tune. How well propaganda brainwashes people. Just think about it. Why? Why, in his opinion, would Ukraine start a war on its own territory? He has never answered that. How could this war have started when the Ukrainian army didn't yet have the strength it has today in terms of armored vehicles, ammunition, or even the number of soldiers? Well, it's just idiocy, excuse me. But unfortunately, the majority of Russia's population started to believe in this. Putin didn't stop and continued his speech. we didn't start anything.
We believe that we did not start military actions in Ukraine, but are trying to end them.
Recently, Russia attacked Kyiv with Shaheds and missiles. An entire entrance of a residential high-rise was blown out. Ordinary people were killed. But Putin called all of this a strike on military targets.
If your journalists had seen how entire residential neighborhoods were destroyed by our missiles, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you anything about it. They wouldn't have survived. If they saw anything at all, it was from a distance. And the strike was not on residential neighborhoods, but on defense industry facilities, on factories that produce military equipment. That's exactly what we're doing.
Let me remind you, in Kyiv, as a result of a strike on a 9-story apartment building, 28 people were killed and more than 130 were injured. Personally, I spent that night in a basement because Russian missiles were flying nearby, hitting residential buildings, targeting civilians in areas where there isn't a single factory around. Next, Putin stated that he is ready to meet with Zelenskyy to put an end to this.
I'm even ready to meet, but only if it's going to be some kind of final stage. So we don't just sit there endlessly dividing things up, but actually put a stop to it.
And again, the same conversations about Zelenskyy's legitimacy. He argues it this way.
The signature must belong to legitimate authorities. Otherwise, the next person will come along and just throw it all in the trash. That's not acceptable. We're dealing with serious issues here.
Exactly. He wants elections to be held in Ukraine right now. What if a new president suddenly throws all these agreements in the trash and attacks again? But I have a question. Is the great superpower with the world's second largest army really so afraid of Ukraine? Putin also smiled and promised that he wouldn't attack NATO.
Well, does even one of you believe that Russia is preparing to attack NATO? What is this? Do you know that NATO countries are currently spending $1.4 trillion on armaments?
That's more than all the countries in the world combined, including Russia and the People's Republic of China. And what's the population in the NATO countries? How many is that? Over 300 million? 340 million? Yes. As is well known, Russia has, 145, 100, close to 150 now. And we spend incomparable amounts of money, just absolutely incomparable amounts, on armaments, and we're supposedly going to attack NATO, right? What kind of nonsense is that?
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Well, honestly, I'm not surprised by any of these messages from Putin. It's all his usual blah, blah, blah. Are you surprised? Write in the comments what you think about him. Meanwhile, there's another bang in Russia. This time, unknown drones attacked Volgograd.
Fuck. Damn, what the hell is blowing up? Fuck, they've reached us. Fuck.
Can anyone tell me what's burning over there? I just can't see. Please. The smoke is really intense.
The Russians reported a massive attack and, as usual, claimed a successful interception. The Russian Ministry of Killings assured that they shot down 81 drones in 11 regions. There is panic and an interception plan at the airports in Volgograd and Kaluga.
Temporary restrictions have been introduced at the airports of Volgograd and Kaluga, Razavayatsiya reported.
Well, what can I say? Not enough. I want more. He was also restless in the Russian city of Orenburg, which is, attention, 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine. Unknown drones were flying there too, and there was panic among the locals. See for yourself.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Grab my sleeping child, get them dressed, get myself dressed, and where should I run?
It's going lower, it's descending, it's going. Do you see? Is it coming here or what, them?
Oh, there. There it is. Stop. There. It's about to hit here. Damn it. Ears.
At the same time, locals complained not only about the sirens. There were even stories in public forums about some mysterious sabotage and reconnaissance groups. It is known that there are facilities in the Orenburg region connected to nuclear testing and storage. Intercontinental missiles are also stored there, including the Avangard missile. In addition, there are military airfields there. At the end of May, it became known that journalists had obtained plans of secret Russian nuclear facilities in the finest detail. This was reported by the Danish publication Danwatch and the German magazine Spiegel. In Russia, 11 facilities are used to store nuclear weapons. Most of them have been expanded and modernized. The internal layouts of such facilities are classified. However, after studying tender documentation, journalists discovered among them hundreds of diagrams of strategic missile force bases in the city of Yasny, Orenburg region, which was attacked the day before. In any case, everything that is happening in Orenburg is already to our liking. Who knows? Maybe this is a new special operation called Spiderweb. And next, perhaps the biggest scandal since the Epstein case. In Russia, oligarchs involved in pedophilia have been exposed. What's your name? Nikita. The Russian opposition outlets Verska and Important Stories have published a sensational investigation about a criminal network that supplied underage girls to wealthy pedophiles for sexual gratification. It is claimed that the name of billionaire Oleg Deripaska appears in the criminal cases related to this network.
Bankers are sitting here, right? They know about all of my available funds. I deeply respect them. They are my senior colleagues. I learn a lot from them. They constantly tell me, stop, we don't do this anymore.
The network operated in 2018 and 2019 under the guise of children's beauty contests and modeling agencies. Attention, casting call. We invite all interested women and girls aged 16 to 50 to participate in the Slavic beauty contest. Girls were recruited into prostitution, after which they would bring their friends in as well. The victim's name has been changed, but there are also reports of girls who are even younger. According to the pimps, this kind of merchandise was especially favored by oligarch Deripaska, who is close to Putin. Russian investigators have identified at least 3 instances where underage girls sold their virginity to Deripaska. He has an enormous need for sex with schoolgirls. Almost every day he orders a new girl for himself, one of them recounted. He himself does not consider himself a pedophile. He just wants to protect himself this way. Supposedly, schoolgirls won't be able to harm him. The investigators knew about the clients, but the higher-ups demanded that influential people not be touched. In this case, only 3 pimps were imprisoned. One of those convicted later joined the Wagner PMC, received a medal, and was pardoned. Deripaska, meanwhile, is still at large, speaking out against what he claims are unjust Western sanctions imposed on him and his enterprises. In Russia, they love to talk about traditional values. Russia is a country of distorted mirrors, plunging into an abyss. The European Union is planning to extract hundreds of billions of additional euros from frozen Russian assets. These funds are expected to be moved into a more high-risk investment fund, which could potentially increase aid to Ukraine. This was reported by Politico, citing European officials. The article states that the EU's executive body is considering transferring nearly 200 billion euros of frozen Russian state assets currently held in Belgium to a new higher-risk investment fund. According to officials, this fund would pay higher interest rates.
The goal is to generate greater returns in order to help keep Ukraine's war-torn economy afloat amid forecasts that US President Donald Trump will halt funding. The assets were frozen in 2022 in response to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
However, despite all the plans, this move will not lead to the full confiscation of Russian assets. Several European Union countries, including Germany and Italy, are opposed to this.
Last year, members of the Group of 7 industrialized nations, G7, agreed to provide Ukraine with 45 billion euros generated from investing and mobilizing sovereign assets. However, the EU's share of 18 billion euros in the G7 loan will be fully paid off by the end of the year, raising questions about how Ukraine's financial needs will be met in 2026.
The finance ministers of the 27 EU countries will begin these discussions on Thursday at an informal dinner in Luxembourg. And what do you think of this idea and the Europeans' initiative? Do you support it? In Slovakia, 8 people have been detained in connection with the case of military aid to Ukraine, including officials from the country's Ministry of Defense. Reuters reports that this is part of an investigation by the European Public Prosecutor's Office into possible misuse of funds allocated for military aid to Ukraine. The publication states that 4 of those detained were officials from Slovakia's Ministry of Defense, and the amount of misused funds totaled €7,400,000. The prosecutor's office suspects high-ranking officials of violating budgetary regulations by, and I quote, submitting unfounded requests for the purchase of ammunition from 2 private companies at the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022.
The prosecutor's office suspects that the government procurement procedure was falsified and that the price of the ammunition may have been inflated.
Earlier, the media reported that in connection with this case, there was an attempt to detain former Slovak Defense Minister Jaroslav Nad, a member of the previous government. He denied any wrongdoing related to aid for Ukraine and on Wednesday wrote on Facebook about how proud he is of helping Ukraine. At the same time, he called the police actions a show. He said that he is currently on vacation in Canada and is expected to return at the end of the month. And what do you think about these detentions? Do you think the Slovak officials are guilty? Share your thoughts in the comments. The standoff between Iran and Israel continues. IAEA chief Rafael Grossi has reported the risk of a global nuclear catastrophe. It is said that radioactive contamination has been detected at the critically damaged nuclear facility in Natanz, Iran. Bloomberg reports that the IAEA cannot verify the whereabouts of Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium. This concerns 409 kilograms of highly enriched uranium, which is enough to produce 10 nuclear warheads. The IAEA was supposed to document and seal the Isfahan nuclear facility where this uranium is stored. These images of the aftermath of Iran's missile attack on Israel, particularly on a hospital in Beersheba, are going viral online. Reports mention dozens of people injured. Some of them are in a serious condition.
Look at what happened outside. You won't believe it.
Mom, the alley is destroyed. There's nothing left. Oh, you do understand what's happening.
Idala, your house has changed?
Wait, Mom!
Strikes were recorded in Bat Yam, Holon, and Ramat Gan. Also, according to media reports, a rocket hit the buildings of the stock exchange in Tel Aviv. For their part, Iranian propagandists tried to justify the strike on the Israeli hospital. They published an AI-generated video falsely claiming that Israeli tanks were stationed under the hospital building. And here's a bit more Iranian shame and absurdity. Iranian propaganda passed off Russian musician Andrei Makarevich as an Israeli pilot taken captive. The fake was mocked on Israeli television. The musician himself also commented on the story.
I don't believe this is Iranian propaganda. I think this is a Russian fake. It's clearly a Russian fake.
And this, for example, is what the huge medium-range ballistic missile Khorramshahr looks like, which Iran launched at Israel. The moment of the launch was published by the Fars agency. The missile's flight range is about 2,000 kilometers. As is known, the Israeli air defense managed to shoot down the missile as it approached. The U.S. is preparing to strike Iran in the coming days. This is reported by Bloomberg. The article states that Washington is preparing the infrastructure for direct involvement in the conflict with Tehran. Please like this video to support what we do, and be sure to subscribe to our channel Ukraine Today so you don't miss future episodes. See you soon!